Hello, everyone. My name is Rosemary Savino. I lead operations at Vanadium. We're a data management platform that's using innovative technologies to give people and companies control and security over their own data. And I'm joined today by Frank Schneider from Verint. Frank, welcome.
Good morning, thank you.
Tell me a little bit about your role at Verint.
Sure, I am the AI evangelist at Verint, and primarily my role is to sort of function as a teacher researcher, both teach in the market as well as learn new and upcoming trends. One of my other roles is to build community across AI brands and also help consult and guide organizations in regards to how to AI ready their business and move forward in the future of work.
That is a great seat to be in right now.
Super fun.
Oh, that's awesome. So tell us a little bit about some of the trends you're seeing in AI, like right now, because it changes every single day.
You know, because this conference is full of expert users and practitioners, I would say that, you know, to go into the weeds a little bit, agentic RAG, which is a way to sort of take conversational AI, mix it with generative AI, and allow for process automation at a deeper level, and move sort of automation technologies from things that are sort of FAQ oriented, if that makes sense, not to be too acronymy, and move it to automating processes and accomplishing tasks and doing them independently, and also allowing AI to sort of interface with other AIs or other agents.
So you mentioned agentic RAG.
Mm-hmm.
Could you just take a moment, and for those of us who don't have like PhDs in AI, give us a couple of use cases of what in a business environment would, you know, outside of an FAQ kind of thing, how you would describe that to somebody?
Yeah, it's funny, I certainly don't have a PhD in machine learning or anything like that, or not a coder as well. And that's what's fun about my job, is I get to provide that sort of translation layer between businesses and those technical folks. And I would say an example in practice, it's funny, we've moved from a world of, hey, reset my password, which automation tools have been able to do for a very long time, to help me modify a reservation at this hotel for the conference, while also simultaneously letting me know if there's a pool on site and what time breakfast is served. And providing that sort of, there's a process to be automated within that, because you might need to sort of find my reservation, look it up, change the night that I'm leaving because my flight has changed, as well as provide some sort of supplementary information. Again, we talked about sort of multifaceted agents working together related to that just informational content, because maybe depending on if breakfast is free or not is going to dictate whether or not I'm going to book my reservation or change my reservation to have breakfast at the airport or have it here on site. So it's really, if you think about things you're trying to accomplish oftentimes with human contact center agents, and Verint, we're the CX automation company. We pretty much primarily work with contact center companies and large global brands. And if you're trying to take that customer experience, trying to get some things accomplished and make them frictionless and intuitive and allow for AI to automate and deliver that outcome, that's kind of a nice way to wrap up what the end result of agentic RAG is. You know, specifically under the hood, it's retrieval augmented generation is a way to dive into an LLM and use it to go to another vector store or a source of information, like, you know, your knowledge management articles. Maybe you have all of the things on your web content that say how brands or how customers can learn about your brand. Let's grab that information and present it in a snack-sized conversational tidbit that people can consume and understand. And agentic is, as I said before, a way to turn it into sort of process.
And you're talking multimodal, correct?
It can be, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not necessarily confined to a specific channel, but you might be in an environment where you're on the phone talking to an autonomous agent in a voice environment, but at the same time, again, we'll stay in that hospitality world. We're sending you a picture of the pool. We're sending you a picture of the nearest restaurant that we'll recommend that goes with your stay. So in that sense, you could have both, you know, the phone call and the multimodal approach in SMS at the same time.
So it sounds like a lot of collaboration, not just between people, but between data sets and between people and data sets.
Oh, 100%, 100%. You know, the reality is what Gen AI has enabled is accessing, retrieving the data that runs your business in a way that's sort of super fast, super ready, but at times can be unpredictable. So it's finding that balance and that artistry around, hey, is my data ready? Is it compliant? Is it secure? Is this usable? Is this appropriate to use in this conversation? And then getting it to accomplish these tasks. And it's always use case driven. It's always about what are we trying to accomplish for our customer, for our employees, for the brand at large.
So you mentioned earlier that you're sort of on the forefront of sussing out these trends and working to build community. How do you get those various elements to kind of coalesce and collaborate to start to help businesses create best practices for using not just some of the new technology, but the way that businesses are actually looking at use cases and using that technology in those use cases?
I'm really fortunate at Verint that they allow me to sort of roam this market and range freely in a lot of ways, that I get to come to conferences like this, where you meet not just sort of vendors and partners and people who are creating the technology that people are using, but also, again, like I always say, power to the practitioner. Brands are doing some exciting things, but you need to get in front of them, you need to collaborate with them. So for me, it's a combination of, conference circuit, a lot of research and reading, and then getting in front of brands as often as possible, and then trying to connect the dots for them.
So human in the loop.
Human in the loop of my research, and human in the loop in the AI at times as well, for sure. That was a good way to use it, for sure.
I love it. Now, I know that you've worked both in public and private sector.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see differences between the way either all public or all private, or the sort of intersection of those communities are using these tools now?
I think what's interesting is that, with new advents and advancements in generative AI, there's a wonderful opportunity for the public sector to help lead the way for private sector in ways that haven't existed in the past. And the reason why is because AI governance is still a nascent sort of methodology or practice or label or discipline in regards to how are we going to make sure things are secure, compliant, reliable, transparent. What is the data lineage for a model's learning? And government is used to that world in ways that maybe, a hospitality brand isn't. So I feel like there's a lot to learn from, the unsexy elements of maybe the way a government would tackle a digital transformation project that now will translate or transform over into the private sector. So whereas the private sector will be able to sort of go in the opposite direction and be able to provide, hey, when you're thinking now from a customer experience first mindset, and how to relate and allow for these processes to make sense for your users, again, it can kind of go back and forth. So I think it's a wonderful time for the market to see that divide, if you will, come together.
That's a fantastic view on the current perspective. I'm going to ask you again in a month, and you can tell me.
I'm overly
something
optimistic. This is my nature. Yeah.
So I'll ask you my final question, which is, what is the biggest trend that you're taking away from this year's conference?
The biggest trend that I'm taking away from this year's conference is people are trying to figure out, and you touched on it when you mentioned collaboration, how to build the team, the sort of SEAL team to stay in the government sector of 3 to 5 to 7 to a dozen people maybe in their organization that have cross-disciplinary functionalities and roles to get things out the door in production. Everybody has the right intention. A good friend of mine who's off stage says, good habits win over good intentions. And so I'm going to use that again, Paolo. But, the habits, the repeatable habits that are necessary to build these cross-disciplinary teams are going to win. And what I've taken away from this conference is everyone's struggling on some level, but in a way that inspires me because people are coming together and saying, how do we figure this out? How did you figure it out? And what are the learnings there? And the best practice playbook is being written as we sit here. So my takeaway is this is the right conference to sort of tease out those things and build that playbook.
What a great observation. Thank you, Frank. It was
Sure.
wonderful talking to you.
Thanks
and
for
thank
having
you
me.
for spending some time with us.
Awesome. Thank you.